You are listening to the Lawns and Life podcast, a show built for DIYers who like to learn, grow, and have a little bit of fun along the way. I'm your host, Devin, the DIY lawn coach, and as always, thank you so much for coming back for another week. Well, I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you so much for checking out the podcast. Do you ever feel like lawn care is just impossible? That's exactly what we're going to discuss today, especially if you are new to lawn care. You're going to absolutely love this episode because we're going to talk about some of the different aspects of lawn care that really do make it impossible and kind of why we feel that way. So, hope you guys are doing well. Thank you so much for checking out the podcast. Let's get into the episode. Again, want to say thank you so much for coming back. I hope you guys had a very Merry Christmas. I'm just getting back from Chicago with my family. We had an absolute amazing time up in Chicago. The weather could not have been any better. Now, sure, it was cold, but I think last week they ended up getting 2 feet of snow, had temperatures that were well below freezing. And I think even next week, it's kind of be the same again. And we got there right in the middle where there was a nice little warm front that came through. Now, again, it was not warm while we were there, but it was certainly a lot better than sub-freezing, really, really windy temperatures. We had just an amazing time while we were there. We got to spend a lot of time together as a family, eating some wonderful food. Got to go ice skating. Just had an amazing time. So hope you guys had an amazing Christmas with your family as well, however you chose to celebrate that. But before we get into the podcast, let's do this week's Mindful Moment.
It can be hard to slow down and notice things in a busy world. Mindful Moments is where we pause for a moment to reflect on the here and now. After all, life is happening now. We simply need to take time to notice. These small yet profound experiences remind us that life is not about the destination, but the journey we take to get there.
So this week's Mindful Moment is a quote from Robert Louis Stevenson. And the quote, I cannot believe that I have not come across this quote before today because honestly, it's exactly what I preach on my channel and kind of how I like to really approach life. So great quote. Again, don't know how I've missed this, but the quote is, "Do not judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant." Do not judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. And really what this quote is calling us to do is to not focus on the end goal, all right? It's to focus on the little things in life. Can you believe that would be this week's mindful moment? Because that's exactly what I try to preach and what I try to do and live on my life, really. You know, we all have, you think about it like a tombstone, right? You have your name at the top, and then you have the day that you were born and the day that you die. And ultimately, what's the most important isn't even written on your tombstone. It's that dash in between the day that you're born and the day that you die. And that dash is your life. And if you're so focused on always being, trying to get to the end of something, you lose your dash. You forget about what's really important. And that's why I just absolutely love this quote, because we don't, a lot of times we get so focused and wrapped up in trying to get to the end or get to the finish line, whether it's lawn care or your professional life or whatever goal you have set for yourself. We get so caught up in trying to get to the finish line that we forget that it's the little things. It's those seeds that we plant. It's the everyday working towards that goal, enjoying where we're going and putting our feet on the ground and appreciating where we are instead of always trying to get to the end. What a great quote. Just as we're getting ready to flip the calendar over and move over to 2026, and just an incredible quote. So I hope you guys like it. It's Robert Louis Stevenson. Do not judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. All right, guys, so let's jump right into the meat of the podcast. So today we're talking about why lawn care feels impossible sometimes. Whether you're new, whether you're a seasoned veteran, lawn care just feels impossible. And when I say impossible, what I mean is everything in lawn care seems like it's working against us. And we're going to talk about, I've got four things that we're going to talk about today as to why I feel like lawn care feels impossible. These four things are the things that are working against us to make lawn care harder. Well, normally us YouTubers, when we make a video, we typically like to leave the hook for the end just to keep the listener engaged. We don't want to give away the secret sauce right in the beginning because you'll tune away. But in this particular episode, I'm just going to come out and say it. The reason why lawn care feels impossible, or it feels like everything is working against you, and that is because it actually is. Everything that we do in lawn care to try to have a really nice lawn is working against us. Short of maybe a few weeks in the spring and maybe a few weeks in the fall, especially for us cool season guys, yes, everything is working against us, and that feels impossible sometimes. So I've got four topics that I want to talk about as to why lawn care just feels impossible. And the first thing I want to say is the reason why it feels impossible is because we are trying to grow a singular grass type in an environment like outside where literally everything is going against us. And it would be really nice if we could maybe put a bubble over our lawn sometimes and just like let it be and not have to worry about all these different inputs. It's so funny. We were just talking about this week's mindful moment and enjoying kind of the process and not trying to reach the finish line. And we'll talk about that a little bit further into the podcast. But really what you have to do through all of this is just enjoy the process. The mentality of thinking that lawn care is impossible is because you think that there is like an end game, that there is a goal to reach. Just like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, the pot of gold in lawn care is the doing. It's the getting to mow, it's the getting to spray, it's the getting to deal with these challenges. Yes, having a really nice looking lawn is so rewarding, but that's just the pot of gold. And as we think about what's really fun and what's really enjoyable about lawn care isn't the finish line. And that's ultimately why it feels impossible, because everything is working against us. Now, I first want to say that these four different topics that we're going to discuss in today's podcast, ultimately, the most important thing here is that we are implementing integrated pest management, or IPM. And basically what IPM says is that we're only applying things to our lawn when the thing that is of detriment to our lawn is required. So we're only applying a fungicide if the fungus is going to harm our lawn or make it look a way that we don't want. We're not just applying pesticides and herbicides and things just because we're supposed to do it. We're actually doing it for a purpose. Our job as homeowners through all of this is to simply manage these four topics that we're going to discuss and minimize their impact on our lawn. And these four things are the reasons why lawn care feels impossible. These four things are the things that work against us, two of which we have no control over, and two of which we do have control over. And so let's just jump right in. So the very first thing I want to talk about that we have no control over, that works against us 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, winter, spring, night, day, doesn't matter, and that is the weather. We have no control over the temperature, whether it's 100 degrees or 12 degrees. We have no control over the rain, whether we get 2 inches at a time or we don't get rain for 30 days. Humidity, sunlight, all of these things contribute to something that we have no control over that have a direct impact on the overall appearance and health of our turf. And when we don't have control, that feels impossible. Now, sure, there are a lot of things that we can do to try to mitigate. Remember, I talked about trying to mitigate the impacts of these things on our lawn. And there are a lot of things that we do, but that feeling of loss of control is what leads to feeling impossible. Bugs is another thing that absolutely contributes to our lawns feeling like it's an impossibility. Bugs are relentless. They don't stay in my neighbor's lawn. They always come into my lawn. We're constantly dealing with bugs. Bugs above the ground, uh, mosquitoes, grubs, things like that. Grubs are below the ground, but they're also below the ground as well. And if you think about it for just a second, our turf, as a maybe a piece of real estate, we're trying to grow a singular grass type: tall fescue, Bermuda, zoysia, Kentucky bluegrass, doesn't matter. We're trying to grow that singular grass type, and we're trying to make it look its best. And on that real estate, we are competing for sunlight, for air, for nutrients, for water from all of these different sources, whether it's from weeds or from bugs or from fungi or whatever it is. And in order for our turf to look as good as we want it to, we have to minimize all of those things that are trying to combat us every single day, every single hour, every single month. So that's number two. And bugs we have no control over, and the weather we have no control over. But this next topic is something that we do have control over. However, because we have control over it, we can really screw it up. And that is our cultural practices. I'm talking mowing, watering, and fertilizing. I call these the basics, right? These are the things that we have control over. We get to determine the mowing height. We get to determine how often we water. We get to determine how often we feed. But the thing with all of this is, if we screw it up, it has a direct impact on how our lawn is. And there's also that kind of leads me into the fourth topic that I want to talk about. But there's a lot of controversy over what's the right way to do it. What's the right mowing height? How much do I need to water? When do I need to water? And let's just go ahead and address the fourth topic, and that is that we get a lot of mixed signals. Whether you listen to a YouTube video that tells you that this is how you're supposed to do it, or you read an article online that tells you to mow at this particular height, or whatever, there's a lot of really, I don't want to call it misinformation, but there's a lot of conflicting information. One guy says you need a soil test. One guy says you don't. One guy says your pH is fine if it's this, and one guy says it's not. And that in itself it makes it feel impossible. Um, and that's something that works against you, because no one can tell you what your lawn needs other than you. You know your grass type. You know your environment. You know what it needs, because you're the one caring for it. You're the one taking care of it. I guess at the end of the day, the overarching thing that I want to say is, like we talked about in this week's mindful moment, lawn care is a journey and not a destination. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Okay, if you're worried about maybe how your lawn looks and you're not enjoying the process of taking care of your lawn, then you've got to have a little bit of a mentality shift, because this is a hobby. This is something meant to be enjoyed, and you need to do what you like, what you enjoy, because that's where the happiness of the hobby is going to come from for it. I'm not a big fan of Kentucky 31 fescue. Okay, I just don't like it. I don't like the texture of it. I don't like the way that it looks. But that's my opinion. So if you like KY31 and that's what you want to go with, by all means. If you like GCI Spreader Elite Grass Seed, more power to you. If you don't like it, more power to you. That's what makes all of this so fun and so rewarding. Again, at the end of the day, this is a hobby that is meant to be enjoyed. So yes, lawn care can feel overwhelming at times. But if you sit back and you just say, "Hey, I'm gonna enjoy. I'm gonna do it the way that I want to do it, within reason." Again, we talked about the integrated pest management. We're gonna do the right thing for the environment. But at the end of the day, it's my lawn. I'm gonna enjoy it, and sure, it can certainly feel overwhelming. All right, guys. So I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think. Did I miss something there? I'd love to hear from you. I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas. I'm looking forward to 2026. It's going to be a great year. You guys stay safe. I'll see you guys next year. My name is Devin. I'm the DIY Lawn Coach, and I can't wait to see you in the lawn.